How you doing, Supercoaches? BJ and GameDay back for another week. No Brent or Josh at the moment. I suspect. I just heard from Brent. He will be along shortly. He fell asleep, and I'm guessing Josh has done the same. So how's everyone doing in the chat? Fucking hell. What a good start. What a great show we have here. We're always professional. So we got a bunch of regulars in the chat. Shockmaster, Cardi Party. Far out. I'll tell you what, these boys, give them hell on. Oh, here we go. Looks like we have Brent Hampton joining. Hello, Mr. Hampton. How are you? Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for finally joining the show. All the regulars in the chat are on time every week. You cunts aren't.
I did say it was like, how are we?
Yeah, good. I don't know if it's on my headset. You're a bit low. Yeah.
At least I've shown up this week.
No King. No King. Tried to call you both. I was a bit worried something might have went wrong.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, my bad. No, I just fell asleep on the kid bed. So I'm back, and I believe it or not, we actually are live at the moment.
We are live. We are live. Yes.
Cracker. Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. At least someone showed up. I'm actually up for Shuey Bogues. I lost a bit of a draft bet on the weekend, so I'll have to start things off.
With a shoey. Do you want
to... True fashion.
Do you want to turn your background off, mate? Because it's interfering with your shoey action. Like, you got this fucking toddler's boot. What fucking poor kid is gonna miss out on? What poor kid of yours is going without shoes so you can do a shoey?
Oh, look, it doesn't matter. But what I will say is shout out to Tommy from Fig Jam Fantasy Sports. So that's the Dynasty draft I'm in with Vogue. So the boys that Shano's footy's jumped in with, and there's Rowdy and Ducky. But yeah, unfortunately I got rolled on the weekend and lost to Tommy or Ducky, and he's still undefeated for the season. Put a shoe on the line. Thankfully it wasn't anything else, but here it goes.
Yeah, Benny, I'll get him to turn his mic up after he has his shoey.
I've turned it up as much as I can.
You might need to turn it up in the Skype settings, mate.
Anyway. Nice and
like that's some sort of ornamental fucking boot your missus has got to fucking grow a plant out of or something, isn't it? Like,
I think so. It's pretty full. I don't know if you can see the frothy view in that one. So, shout out to Fig Jam Dynasty Sports. Well done, Tommy or Ducky, and yeah, here we go.
people calling you soft for not using your own shoe.
Jesus. I just don't want to spill it everywhere. Does that not count? I'll have to redo. Anyway. Well, I did say I've been awake for about 30 seconds. Now mics.
No, you're sounding a lot better now. I think it's because your actual physical mic wasn't close enough to your face. Whoa. Fucking loud now, mate. Hold on.
My good, how good are we going?
Is there a fucking vacuum cleaner or something going on there?
No, not mine.
Okay.
Oh, we're good.
We're very good. The mic is extremely fucking loud now.
Turn it down.
Fuck.
Alright, I'm good now though.
Yep. That's fine.
Oh,
I'll
jeez.
fuck with your levels here. That's fine. So how'd you go last week, mate?
Fucking not well. I wish I fell asleep through the whole show. 10.95, mate. So it was a bit of a debacle. Well, not too bad. I think it looked like sort of 1200 was about par for the week, but just not having David Fifita in the end probably hurt me. I ended up bringing in Pappy in for Latrell, which didn't really work out, if I'm honest. But Latrell's just had some absolute garbage points out there, if I'm honest. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Latrell, but I still feel better about having Pappy over Latrell long term. And who else did I bring in? Oh, Cookie. I went Cody Walker to Cookie, so that didn't work out as a weekly sort of prospect. So wasn't awesome. 10.95. I dropped a heap of rankings, Bogues. I went back to about 12k overall at the moment. It's sort of it stings a bit because, like I said, all in all, my team's not too bad across the park, but just the big one was not having Dave Fifita this week. You sort of swapped Tupanua's points, which ideally would have been someone I would have gone Fifita to Fifita, and I cracked 1200. So it was just one of those things. I'll bring Fifita in this week. I don't care about whether people say it's chasing points or whatever, but yeah, it was a bit of a shame. He absolutely tore us a new one, and hurting after this week. I thought it was bad not having Pappy last week. It's bloody worse not having Fifita this week. So, what about you, mate?
Just shy of 1200, so 1195. It's just like, yeah, Pappy downgraded pretty badly, and that fucked me a bit. But what can you do?
Yeah. Anyway, onwards and upwards. As I said, it's always next week. We still have to review the scores, Bogues, but
yeah,
that's the beauty of it.
What's going on in the chat? Adro, are you chucking a tanty or something in there?
What's doing? He's had enough.
He's had enough. I think he jetted. I don't know what he misses King too much. Hashtag bully Josh.
Oh, well. Yeah, no, see, I also don't know what's going on there. I don't even know what's going on. I just woke up, for fuck's sake.
Well, he did ask me after the last show if he could come on if Josh wasn't on. And at that time, I had been assured by Mr. Josh King that he would definitely be on the show this week. He's stood us up again. It's all right. Yeah, the inevitable return of the king. It gives me a thumbnail. I don't have to use the generic one.
I'd just be happy someone showed up this week.
Oh, I thought I was going to have to do the fucking show by myself. Just let me set up a output projector for you, Brent, so you can see the screen. We're fucking going great tonight.
Yeah, it's my bad. I was having a good sleep too.
Wasn't?
That's great.
Bit of news though while I set this up. Obviously the Sharks in a bit of peril. Maybe that's why Josh King hasn't joined his shit club. Shit coach.
That's interesting, right? Like, I didn't think they started the year too badly, Bogan, to be honest. They had a bit of steel on the weekend against the Chooks as well. I thought they performed relatively well. You couldn't say too many bad things about them, to be fair. And obviously this afternoon they've announced that Craig Fitzgibbon will be the coach from 2022, and as a result, John Morris's stint sort of ends effective immediately, and they'll have a caretaker coach in Josh Hannay for the rest of the season. I think it was. So
it's a fair call, like from Morris to just chuck it in, because it's not the best treatment.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It sort of reminds me of the Brown saga last year a little bit. In terms of he just thought it was better to sort of end it now rather than go on with it. It wasn't doing anyone any benefit. So yeah, look, I saw Matty, was it SJ on the Matty Johns show over the weekend, or saw a little bit of a clip where he was sort of saying that, he's sort of, John Morris has been put in a sort of hard place in that, the side that he didn't really have a say in. He wasn't able to make some decisions about players, or they had some salary cap issues and that sort of thing. So I think he had the buy-in from the players, which is an interesting one. So it'll be interesting to see what the effect is on them.
And allegedly, the contract they've given Fitzgibbon is $150,000 a year more.
Yeah, so he's current Chook's assistant, also New South Wales assistant as well. So, what I've seen is they basically want to turn the Sharks back into a top 4 organisation. They obviously thought that John Morris wasn't going to be able to do that, even though I think I saw in the news yesterday they had some emergency meetings with him yesterday and assured him that he would continue to coach. But yeah, it's a business at the end of the day. They've done what they've needed to do, and it's interesting. Like I said, it'll be really interesting to see how the Sharks perform the rest of the season. As a result, where the players there's a bit of a player exodus, Bogan, which some people might think might happen as well because they've done what they've done. They might think it's a bit hard done by Johnny, but yeah, didn't expect it. I sort of thought they were pretty good on the weekend. And
well, how do you reckon that's going to play into the Sharks for the rest of the season? Because it's round 6 this week, so it's still pretty fucking early in the season to be done for your coach to be walking out and having an assistant take over. Like, the Sharks could almost look for a caretaker coach for the rest of this season. That's a full-time coach, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's almost a full season. Like, the Sharks, their season's not over. They string a few wins together.
Well, it makes it a bit hard, doesn't it? So early in the season, what are you sort of supposed to expect from them now, seriously, as a fan? And I mean, Hannay obviously will step in, and he's in their system, and hopefully they can continue as they did. But yeah, I don't know. Like, as I said, they played pretty well on the weekend. They play us this week. They probably should go into that game favourite, but I'm not too sure now.
Anyway, on to the results from last week. I'm set up now, so
beautiful. Yep. So we started off with the Rabbits and Brisbane on the Thursday, Bogues, and this one ended up being a slaughter as we sort of predicted. Top scorers there was Latrell Mitchell, ran right. I mean, I traded Latrell Mitchell out, and that might seem like it stings a bit. It probably does, but so the way I look at it is he scored. His try was. He scored a couple. I'm pretty sure he scored a double. One of them was he scored some real late jump time points as well, but one of them was just some blokes diving over the top of him, some Brisbane players diving over the top of him for one of his tries. Then the kick at the end, there was just nothing doing. He also got a really late line break assist with an offload and a drop goal. That was just absolute junk. I think Brisbane were just, so bad. Just watching the game even, he set up AJ pretty early with a nice ball, but he's just not involved enough. I know he's more involved than he has been, and I'm trying to make myself feel better about trading him, but I mean, Pappy still scored 100 and whatever it was, and I think just the way that he plays, I'm still happy that I prefer to have Teddy and Pappy. At some point, you're going to have some lulls from Latrell, and he's just less convincing, even though he's still scoring some quality. That said, he's still awesome to watch and just such a dominant player. He's good to watch, but from a Supercoach perspective, I got no issues with that decision. Gagai was the second highest scorer. Your man Benji, mate, he scored the first try early and came back a bit. He was good.
Yeah, I've got him in drafts, but I had him on the bench in both my draft teams. So, he can still go, Benji.
I mean, pretty interesting there. All bar Mansell sort of top scorer in that Rabbitohs backline. So there was lots of points out on those edges for the Rabbits. All the backs sort of gone 80 plus, except for Reynolds, who went 75, and Mansell, who went 32. Cookie was quiet. I brought him in as just a weekly bring-in, thinking it was a good matchup, but the ball was just, all the points are out on the edges. Murray again continues to be a little bit disappointing for owners or anyone that's still on him. Bogues this season, just not playing the minutes, not really needing to do too much.
Mate, I think it might be his last week in my team, to be fair.
Mm.
That's too much money to be scoring that low. And I think I've given him long enough to hit form, and now he'll ton up next week, so there's a tip.
That's always the way, Bogues. Don't worry about that.
There's just you can't afford to have second rowers that cost that much that aren't scoring in your team. I think he's gone.
Yeah, on Brisbane side of the park, it was Payne Haas was the top scorer, Bogues. Just want to have a look at how many minutes he played. He played 66 minutes, so he hasn't had a massive reduction in minutes. He's obviously not playing the 80, but he's still playing pretty decent minutes. The big man in the middle. I know Carrigan was out, but the week prior he played 69 minutes, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Obviously Paulo a little bit off the boil, and Takiaho. Takiaho scored decently, but as someone that owns Paulo and Takiaho, got a close eye on Payne Haas. His minutes are still really good, and awesome base on the weekend. Osako scored a try. 67, pretty good in the beaten side, but I don't know. Brisbane, just that right edge was just woeful. I think they had Dearden, Tessie New, Coates, and Ricky out there, and there was just less than probably 20 games first grade experience between them out there. I don't know exactly, but that potent left edge of the Rabbitohs paired up with that really inexperienced right edge of Brisbane, it was sort of. Looking back on it, I don't know why I traded Latrell, but it is what it is. Pangai was pretty disappointing again, Bogan, but it looks like he's going to get the start on the edge this week, so we'll be interested to see. That'll be the first time this season that he's going to get a start on the edge, and I personally think Pangai should be an edge back rower. I think he's just so damaging, and getting one-on-one with any 5'8" or halfback in the comp, and they're going to have a handful with him, so I think he really should be on the edge, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes against Penrith this weekend. A bit of a test for them, but otherwise Ricky and Tessie weren't awesome. 39 each from those pretty popular players. Milford, was a bit of a passenger out there, didn't do much, and you'll see he's been dropped this week as well. But that's probably about all to report from this one from me, Bugs.
All right, on to the next one. Whoops. That's wrong one. There we go. Sea Eagles getting up in a close one.
They're getting their first win of the season too, Bugs. A bit of an upset as per the bookies, but it was a late Cherry Evans field goal getting the job done, and Cherry was best player on the park for the Eagles, which he was due, but even Supercoach was top scoring with 83. Jazz Tavanga top scored on the Warriors side, mate. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Jazz, 57 minutes, so the most minutes he's played all season, 68 points for the base. So that's big. Sheck was good again. Harris just continually pumping out the 70s. Schuster was good again, 64. I think he was sort of that week, cheapie of the week there. I think that was his first rise, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Oh, sorry, that was his second rise, but he continues to reward players. Pretty solid, just 44 in base, so you're pretty much going to get 40 out of him, which is really good for bottom dollar guy, and he just looks like a great footy player. Otherwise, what's out there? Saab, 45. Anyone that still had him, I know he's pumped out some pretty ordinary scores, but plenty of people started the season with Sabi out there, so he's rewarded some with his first try of the season and a 45 there, but with the return of Turbo this week.
Yeah, I got rid of him a long time ago.
He's bottomed out completely. He's sort of he's now dropped, 30 odd K, just over 30K. I don't think he could drop too much more, but with the return of Turbo now, it'll be interesting to see whether he sort of might reap some rewards from that. But O'Sullivan solid for anyone that went O'Sullivan. Maybe just get that cash grab for him, and maybe go to Sam Walker this week. But otherwise, just having a look there, Bogan. Nothing probably too overly relevant classic-wise otherwise in that list. Nothing sort of special coming out of that one there. And the second game on the Friday was...
I don't have the fucking score. I didn't cut the score.
Right. It was 30-10.
Yeah. Bit of controversy in this one. Oh no, the screen's just... Hold on. Oh, fix this. Fucking hell. It's a great show this week. Far out. There we go. No, I did cut the top off. My apologies.
That's all right.
We just need to have that scoreline up the top there a bit longer on the screen, do we?
Yeah, thanks for that. No, look, it was Penrith getting up over the Raiders 30-10 in the end. I thought to start the game, Canberra with a better side. They scored early through Whiten, and then it looked as though they had scored again through Croker with a bit of a mix-up at the back with Crichton, but as it turned out, he didn't get the ball down, and they ended up proving to be pretty costly because the Panthers just sort of turned it on after that. They went down the other end and scored a try, and then went on to score another couple tries in quick succession and just absolutely stole the game. I know there was a bit of an issue with Kikau taking Nickel Clockstad out, and Clockstad ended up having to come from the field. Caused a massive reshuffle, and there was a heap of people calling for Kikau's head. But yeah,
little bit of a few flare-ups in this one as well.
Yeah, there was a bit of passion out there as well. There was a bit of a melee as well, where I think Panthers scored in the corner there. I think for Charlie Staines' second of the game, and young Stephen Crichton got Joe Tapine involved, who was just sort of standing there innocently near the sideline. So yeah, there was a lot of passion. I think it was a great game of footy. Panthers just sort of showed how good of a football team they are, Bogues. And Supercoach wise, Charlie Staines top scored. So
Charlie Staines faithful, getting a bit of a reward.
He did. It was funny, right? I think he scored 3 tries all season, 2 of them against Canberra and the other one against Melbourne, but hasn't scored in any other games where they took on like the Cowboys and the Dogs. So I played Benny. Shout out to Benny, who had him in one of our cashies. He played him. I thought, you absolute lunatic, but masterstroke there, Benny, and anyone else that played him. I think Shane O'Bloody had the VC on him. So well played there. Luai just continues to impress Bogan. He just, for mine at the moment, it's probably just the most dangerous, best looking 5'8" in the comp. Just wants the ball in his hands, and every time he runs the ball, it looks like something's going to happen around him. And just that potent left edge. Burton scored an absolute screamer, running off him as well, changed his line as the ball was in the air, and it was a beautiful try. Absolutely wicked. Brian Toto scored a 70 without even scoring a try, Bogan, so that's pretty massive if you take that into consideration. But yeah, they just continue to be Supercoach friendly. Cable was pretty quiet, Bogues. He's sort of an interesting one that I've got. I'm not entirely sure what to make of Cable. He's not playing 80 every week. In fact, he's only played 80 one week so far this season. He still played big minutes on the weekend, 71. And obviously they play Brisbane this week, so I won't be looking to trade, but just keeping a close eye on him. He's going to be a tricky one if he's definitely not going to play every week, which he might not. He's not necessarily a keeper, so he's going to need some attacking stats if he's not going to play 80. But he's one I've just got a bit of an eye on at the moment. I assume he'll get picked for Origin in that Queensland side, so it might be the sort of thing. I think Panthers got such a nice draw now until pretty much Origin that you might have to hold him until then, possibly, and then get rid of him for Origin, and then that'll be the end of it. But we'll see what happens there. Fisher Harris, I don't know. Did you end up holding Fisher Harris, folks?
Yes, I did.
That turned out to be a masterstroke because in the last 2 weeks he's pumped out 150 plus points. Minutes again weren't huge, but the base output was good. Point per minute in base, and must have had a few offloads and stuff with that as well. But he had a really good game, sort of out on the park. Just looking at him, the Raiders side of the field, Jackie Whiten top scored. That 95, bloody. She's considering they only scored 2 tries in the game. That's pretty good from Jackie. Well and truly above his highest score of the season. Hudson Young continues to be solid. Papali solid again, Bogues. It was just a good game of footy, to be honest. Panthers just sort of showed their dominance and showed why they're going to be really hard to beat this year. And I think it's 20 now consecutive home and away games in a row for them. Yeah. So,
and what the NRL is doing by not fucking having in the draw the Raiders play the Panthers twice is fucking ridiculous. But these two teams won't play each other again unless they face each other in the finals. So that would definitely be one to look forward to.
Yeah, soft draw NRL protecting the upper echelon clubs is always but it should be a cracker. It could well be a grand final preview. We'll see what happens. I think the Clockstad injury played a big part in that. It caused a massive reshuffle there. And
I tell you what, how big would that grand final be? 30 years on from 91.
Yeah, wouldn't it be? That was they
were celebrating.
The anniversary of that. Yeah. So they held all the players there and all that sort of thing. But yeah, that caused a massive reshuffle, and obviously against Penrith, when something like that happens, you need to be on point defensively, and I think it put Croker out on the wing and Rapana back to fullback, and they're just never able to recover from that. So, Ryan James, Bogues, I know he's been dropped this week, or he's given a rest this week.
That's a shame.
47 minutes and 41 points, so he's just solid when he's getting his time. Nothing amazing, but still pretty solid.
It's probably a bit of smart coaching there to give the big fella a rest. Ricky knows what he's doing in that department. Ricky knows bad knees, that's for sure. So,
I think there was a fair few people, a fair few critics at the start of the year. A lot of people weren't sure about him, but I think he's been able to prove a few of those guys wrong. He'll be a good addition to their side.
And a lot of people, and fairly so, were saying the Raiders picked him up probably cheaply to have there as a sort of reserve player, but he's really played himself into being like a solid part of that Raiders pack. So good on him after a bit of a disastrous couple of seasons.
Yeah, and I think early they showed that they can mix it. It was just that momentum shift in Croker not getting that try. It was massive, and Penrith just took advantage of it. So credit to them, and it was a good game for you to watch on Friday. First game on the Saturday was...
was this a good game of footy for you to watch, mate?
Not particularly. It was absolutely woeful. So Kalen Ponga's return, I was expecting it. It was one of those ones I wasn't entirely sure how to think about it, to be honest. I thought the Titans had been good so far, but they hadn't been unbelievably good.
It has to be asked now, after some solid performances and a huge 147, is David Fifita a must-have now?
Look, I've said it in one of our group chats on the weekend. I don't think there was a high on David Fifita to start the season than me, and then for some reason I didn't go him. I don't even know why, but I've seen enough to suggest that he definitely is a must-have. He's got the ceiling. He's so dangerous.
Form, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can't deny that. He's so conducive. He busts tackles. He's always getting offload away, and because of what he tracks 2 or 3 defenders, he's able to get that ball away and create stuff on his outside or his inside or whatever it is. But on the weekend he did it all himself. He scored 3 tries. I sort of said before the game I was looking forward to the Fifita and Frizzell matchup, because I thought that might be like a pre-Origin audition, and I'd expect Frizzell to do a bit of a job on him, but it was like a men playing against boys in that one. That said, there were some really woeful attempts at defending him, but that said, how do you defend a bloke like that? It was funny, right? Like, I think that last try he scored, he went straight through and sort of had a look around. There was no one in support, and then saw Ponga sort of one-on-one with Ponga and just sort of said, "Oh well, I'll take you on." And he's tried to cut Ponga on Ponga's right and had the ball in his right hand and hasn't even tried to defend him. He's just used the hips and sort of bounced Ponga off and scored in the corner. So, he's incredibly strong. As I said, he's busting tackles, offloads. He runs really good lines. And they got that thread out on that left edge with Kelly out there. He's formed a good combination with Fogarty, and they'll have Brumo floating around out there as well. So, yeah, I'm bringing him in this week. He's upwards of 700k. I've got no qualms. I just think of all the players in the comp, and now that I've got Pappenhausen in, Teddy, there's no one else that has the ceiling that this guy's going to have, and he's already produced, 3 scores plus 100
Yeah.
Bogan or something this season, 5. So, yeah, I'll be bringing him in. I've got no issues at 750 plus K. Sleep better at night having him. I was sort of torn because there's a few good options out there with some guys like Cody Walker and Jerome Milwai this week, but this guy taking on Manly. They play Brisbane in a couple of weeks, and then the Tigers. I just think whatever, 750k, it's all good. He's shown that he's just going to be a guy you've got to have.
And Peachy playing up to his namesake. Not many people would add him.
He's an interesting one. I sort of mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that he was looming as that Connor Watson type. He was coming on off the bench initially and then got the start a few weeks ago. But yeah, he played 80 minutes on the weekend, Bogan. So I know they had an injury to Philip Sami, which might have caused a bit of a reshuffle out there, but it was sort of interesting. He looked really dangerous. He was one of the best on the park, apart from Fafita, to be honest. So yeah, obviously anyone that had him, well done. He scored 100. Like I said, he's very much like that Connor Watson type of player. It looks like he's not cheap now. He's at just under 500k. And having that dual second row centre wing status helps. You can pick him in the centre wing if you're keen. I just think with him, he might cop those 30s or 40s mixed in with the 50, 60 pluses and then even higher. But you'll just have to cop that with him. But as I said, they've got a pretty good run over the next sort of month. Even 6 weeks. They do play South and Penrith in there, but he's not a bad option. 45 break even. So yeah, he's looking good. Brian Kelly made a pretty good return as well, Bogues. Pretty good for a guy that didn't score a try, 73 points. So he's, again, out on that left edge, whether he's going to be running off Fafita or the fact that Fafita is going to be, inside him and there might be a few less eyes on Kelly. He's looking like another good option as well. But yeah, they looked really good. Newcastle were, it just from the word go, I think Ponga kicked the ball off out on the full to start the game, so that was always good. And then they scored after that, and we just never were in the contest, to be honest. They just dominated us across the park. I sort of expected our forward pack to match up a little bit better, and we got found out big time. So yeah, Jaden Bradley was solid again. Bogues 74. I think he had a try assist in that. Ponga scored his try as well, off the back of a Hunt line break. But it was nothing impressive from our guys. Barnett's an interesting one, Bogues. He lost the goal kicking, so not entirely sure what to make of Barney now. He's 53 on the weekend. He only had 45 points in base, which isn't too different from his base output in the previous 5 weeks. But you miss that, even though it didn't matter too much on the weekend. But even 2 or 3 goals is an extra 8 to 12 points. You add that to his score, and he's scoring in the mid-60s. So Barnett is a really interesting one now. I think I've seen a lot of people possibly jumping off Barnett. I think I'll just hold him up until that round 13 bye, because I don't think there's anyone else jumping out that's a must-have, and I still think he's a good option. But really keeping a close eye on once Fitzgibbon returns, how that's going to work and what ends up happening with him. Otherwise, Clemmer wasn't unreal either. I know he's been really good all season, but that was probably one of his worst games for the year. 60 minutes, only 39 points, and that was all base. But it was all just on the Titans side of the field, Bogues. So the only interesting one is Big Tino. So he, chalk and cheese compared to the week before. He played 66 minutes, which is still pretty good, but 26 points in base. I believe once Sammy got injured, he might have floated out on an edge and possibly didn't see as much traffic as he normally would have. But that one hurt after he sort of pumped out on 93 the week before, and he was a big trade target as a result of that. So I even considered bringing him in, but didn't. So dodged a bullet there, but I think that would probably be Tino's lowest score of the year, personally. And maybe you can stay cheap for a little bit longer, and I can still try and bring him in, but. Second game on the Saturday. Saw the Storm put a rout on the Dogs, and the Dogs ended up. Skyline is a reflection. They put up a bit of a fight. I know it's pretty funny to think, they put 50 on them, but they were good in patches. Obviously, yeah, you look at the Melbourne side of the field, 52 points, you're going to expect a few high Supercoach scores out there. George Jennings top score with 118. Pappy was good again, Bogan. I think he actually finished the game, well, after some updates, he went up to about 143.
Yeah, no shit.
And then lost a heap of points on revisions, which was pretty crazy because they revised his score a couple of times, which sort of annoys me. Like, I don't like these multiple revision things. It just pisses me off how they can put him on a score and then take points off him. Just do it once. Like, yeah.
And I don't know. It just seems that there's some players who go up all the time and some players who go down all the time. And I don't know what the setup is that it works out that way, or whether it's fucking dodgy, but I don't know. I think it might be time for them to have a little bit more transparency on the reviews.
It just won't happen. I'm not entirely sure how they do it, but it's just annoying. Like, I know people whinge because they would factor it into looping and all this sort of things, but I just don't like the fact that the scores can change that much. Like, I think they ended up taking 2 line breaks and something off him. I mean, how do you give him those scores and then manage to take them away if you're not giving them to him initially? But anyway, he still managed to score 113. Kafusi was big. Welsh scored for reply, so anyone that stuck solid and firm with Welsh was rewarded. Munster ended up getting some late try assists towards the end as well. But just solid scoring across the park. Harry Grant's return, he looked really dangerous in the minutes that he played. Bogan, he didn't start the game, so ended up rotating on. 53 minutes, 42 in base. And I think he had a bit of a try assist in that as well. Yeah, so pretty decent scores across the board. A lot of 50 pluses there and 4 tons, which is massive from that game. Dog side of the park, Bogues, it was Avarillo that was the standout. He was sort of in everything. Scored, went through with an early line break, but he looked really good. So he sort of showed why they initially picked him to 6 to start the season and showed why he's such a great young talent. Luke Thompson as well made his return and scored their first try. So he played 50 minutes, 44 in base. But yeah, scored that try. And I think I've just heard as well, Josh Jackson's going to be ruled out for an extended period with a calf tear or something. So you could possibly be looking at someone like Thompson. Maybe in drafts, maybe classics a little bit more awkward, but keep an eye on him. But still some pretty solid scores in a well-beaten side for the Dogs there. DWZ was 71, Elliott was 70. Even Flano was pretty improved with 54 there. So that's probably about it, Bogues. That one was just, yeah, it was a clinic.
As was expected. It was very predictable. This game wasn't predictable. Sharks were up for quite a while in this one. For the Roosters, just too strong in the end.
Yeah, well, they came home with a wet sail. Sharks were the better team for a good part of 60 minutes, I reckon. They looked like they had it all over them and they were possibly going to cause an upset. But if it wasn't for some late class of young Sam Walker in the end, that was probably the difference. He ended up putting Tupu in with a massive cutout ball that was absolutely put on a dime. He scored himself and then put another nice ball over for Brett Morris in the corner to seal it. But yeah, the Sharks were awesome. Again, that was sort of why it surprised me what's happened with John Morris has happened recently, because they looked really good out there. They started awesome. Townsend top scored for him with 70 there. But Rudolph was massive, just the whole side across the park. Kennedy looks awesome as well. Ramian was good, set up a try to Jack Williams there to cause a bit of issues for the Roosters. Wilton's an interesting one, Bogues. I didn't touch Wilton, and I know we sort of just had eyes on him, but he played 80 minutes, and with the back rows returning for the Sharks, you were sort of thinking maybe security isn't good. As it turned out, Wade Graham ended up getting a HIA, and he might have some better prospects now in that back row spot, even with Nakora and Talakai returning. But so he's rewarded anyone that held tight on him with a nice 60+ K rise. But Yeah, it was the Chooks in the end. As I said, Sam Walker was the difference, Bogan. Just sort of watching the game, there was just sending a lot of traffic his way, and it looked like he was a bit of a liability out there, but
Well,
he's shown his class, and
is Kiri out for the season? Yeah.
yeah,
I was gonna say if
ACL.
Walker keeps playing like this, Kiri might not have a spot when he gets back.
Well, I think he's got to be one of them, and it will just be whether Hutchinson or someone else that does
Yeah.
enough. So yeah, it was classy. Like I said, I think he got a lot of traffic sent his way, and he's not a big boy whatsoever. So he is going to get targeted. Especially it was only his second game, but even ongoing.
And no doubt they'll
Um,
test him this week.
oh look, and his base was 9 points. So it's pretty crazy when you think about it. He finished on 89, but like I said, he was just class. It's sort of funny to see. He looks too young
Well,
to be
yeah.
out
With
there,
that being said, he's
to
a
be
young
honest.
bloke, but he also looks young for his age.
He does
So
look
it was a
really
great
young.
performance by the 12-year-old. Uh,
It really was. And even they interviewed him sort of after the game, and it just seems like he's got a good level head. Didn't sort of, just sort of credit to the boys and all that sort of thing. But yeah, Brett Morris was big again, Bogues. Just keeps on keeping on old Beamers. 111, scored a double. Drew Hutchinson was good. Teddy was pretty quiet for Teddy standards, Bogues. Just
but
didn't
he's
get involved in those
he's had
attacking stuff.
2 quiet weeks.
Hmm.
Could the new influence in the halves be a factor in that? I know that you sort of predicted it might be.
Oh, look, I don't know. I can't remember if he had one disallowed or there was something that happened in the game. But I mean, his base is still really good. He just didn't get any major attacking stats. So yeah. Look, I know there was some people that went last week, got off him, and might have gone to Latrell or someone and banked a heap of cash. And he's got another really high break even this week, and there might be some people again thinking about trading him. But we sort of saw it in round 1. They play Melbourne this week. That's fine. They play the Dragons the week after, which is probably a different prospect to how people might have viewed it a few weeks ago. But I don't know. You can run Latrell all you want over someone like Teddy. Now Ponga's back, and even Turbo's back now. But I don't know. I just still think this guy's just got too much of a ceiling to have him as a pod. And at some point, he's just going to have a game where he scores a double and does what he does and goes 100 plus with ease. So still that combination he's probably working out with some of his halves as well. I know Kiri was able to utilise him pretty well, and they sort of knew each other's game really well. But I don't know. I couldn't suggest or recommend trading him out, but I know there were some people that didn't, and it's looking like a really good move now. If you did it last week, if you sort of went someone like Latrell last week, they scored the same score in round 4, and then Latrell scored, about 80 points more this week. So, and then they play Melbourne this week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. But yeah, across the park, Crichton was pretty solid. Most of his score was in base. Takiaho, only 53 minutes, but had a couple. Must have been 56 in base. So what was he doing? Must have kicked a couple goals. Kicked a few goals as well. So that's interesting, Bogues. But yeah, it was a really good game of footy. Came down to the wire, and it was just the class of Sam Walker in the end, ultimately. And yeah, I guess personally, I'll be hoping Tupanua keeps the start of his edge as well, because he ended up coming off the bench. They played him off the bench, and he didn't get a whole heap of minutes. So that one really hurt me this week, but he's been named to start on the edge again this week, and I'll probably hold with him at the moment. So hopefully he can fix that up.
Alrighty, on to the next one. Cowboys getting their first win of the season.
Yeah, moving on to the Sunday, I think they come out the gates, but it might have been like 28-6 at half time, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was like that.
It was something like that. It was the Tommy Rodriguez commemorative match. They retired the number 7 jersey, and there was a whole heap of
fanfare. Yeah.
Stuff going on around the ground for that, and they were booed off at half time. Whereas, yeah, as I said, they were down about 28-6, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, they made a bit of a contest of it. They came back. I think they scored the first 3 tries after half time to get it back to like. We got to a point where they were sort of like 28-20 or something like that, and then they scored again. Norfolk scored again in the corner, ended up getting disallowed, and then the Cowboys went up the other end and scored to make it 32-20, and yeah, they were sort of coming back at them at that point, and that no try really hurt them. And they made a late charge again and had a chance with sort of 40 seconds to go to off the kickoff, and Luke Brooks ended up mucking up the catch off the kickoff. So there was a heap of Supercoach points in this one. It was a high-scoring affair. Offengowie, the biggest for the Tigers. Surprisingly enough, he ended up starting on the edge. Ended up playing 67 minutes and scored a late try as well. Scored their last try to keep him in it. Adam Dewey keeps producing bugs. It was sort of someone, I think we sort of said you could have a look at him because of their draw. I think you sort of asked.
I did ask about him last week, whether he was coming into a golden patch, be it this season or potentially moving on to maybe someone to look at for next season.
Well, I mean, if you got on him, anyone that did, it was a massive call because he's pumped out 94 points and does look really good. He's now upwards of, he went 60k rise this week, so he's now upwards of 560k, and they do have a pretty good little draw coming up. I know they play South this week, but yeah, he was awesome for the Tigers, mate, and kicking goals. He had a couple try assists, line break assists. Didn't even score any meat himself, so 94 points is really solid there. Luciano was good again, scored a try, set one up. Scotty Drinkwater was one of the best for the Cowboys with 81 points, scored a try and also had his hand in 3. There's my little thing. But yeah, 12 was pretty solid as well. Boguesy ended up playing some bigger minutes compared to the week before, so that was good. I don't know if many people were still on 12, but he was back to sort of what we expect from Twile. Noel Faluma was massive again, sort of talked up Noel Faluma as a possible buy. A good time to possibly get him, might not get any cheaper. Had he got that try allowed, he probably would have turned up. So still a pretty good buy, I think, at 570k, mate. He's got a highish break even still already this week and taking on South, but they play Manly the week after and they got a bit of an easier run after that. But James Roberts is terrible at centre, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
so he's just.
Matt Groves in the chat is asking how hasn't James Robert been dropped, and it's like, well, mate, I think his days are probably numbered.
Well, I mean, you consider they dropped Little this week, Bogan. So Jacob Little, who I thought was been one of their best, to be honest. He has been dropped, which was interesting, but then you've still got guys like, Roberts running around, so that was pretty interesting. Joey Leilua made his return and copped a HIA, failed HIA there, so that was no good for him. Otherwise, again, I think there was a few people that might have looked at Condon or might be looking at Condon this week, Bogan, for a cheapie. I don't think he looks like anything overly special, but he'll just make a bit of cash, I guess. He's going to... didn't even play 80 on the weekend. His base was absolutely terrible in the minutes he played, but scored a try, which sort of saved him. So I think he's a bit of a... I don't know what the go is there with Lolo returning this week. Obviously, Condon plays on the edge, but there's not much. Even in 80 minutes, he scored 39 in base last week, which isn't terrible, but it looks like unless he's going to score tries, he's not going to be anything special. Probably Wilton looks a little bit better. Classic-wise, Luciano's been pretty good. Someone just say Luciano's a bit of a trap. Look, I think that's just what you're going to get from Lucci. I think his base is pretty standard for a back rower, but he'll have the attacking stats in him at times that will blow up his score. But I think he looks pretty good out there for the Tigers. Dane Laurie didn't do too much. He scored a try, but I was sort of expecting big things out of Dane Laurie for this one as well, Bogues. But didn't end up happening. So, yeah, look, like some pretty high scores across the board. Lots of 90s, not as high as a couple of those Melbourne players, I guess. No one cracked a ton, but still a pretty entertaining game of footy when you consider the 64 points. And I thought this was an absolute stinker to have televised on the Sunday Arvo, so end up being a little bit entertaining. And to finish it off, it was probably the upset of the round.
Not really.
A couple of upsets.
Not really.
You're on the Dragons, man. I reckon you got a bit of a soft spot for them,
who doesn't like an underdog that isn't the Titans?
Well, yeah, they ended the Eels winning streak in a big way and started on their own that you've been sort of carrying on about
mate,
for the last 3 weeks as well.
You and Josh King both called the Dragons shit at the start of the year. Predicted that they possibly could get the spoon.
I called a number of teams shit. Dragons are one of them. But yeah, look, they were ultra impressive, Bogues. They dominated the game, deserved the win. The scoreline was probably a little bit flattering for the Eels. I know there were some interesting calls. I didn't personally think that first Dufty one was a penalty try, and I also thought that the other one that he got was a massive forward pass. And then you couple that with Gutho's try getting taken away. But like I said, full credit to the Dragons. You can't take anything away from them. They were the better side. They defended well. They shut down a lot of those attacking threats of Parramatta and just out-enthused them in the end. But it was Duffy top scored for the Dragons. He was in everything early, set Jack Bird up early, threw some nice balls. He went a bit quiet in that second half apart from the try he scored, but he was huge. I honestly don't think anyone can really have him in Classic that's taking it too seriously. But drafts, he hurt me in the draft that I lost to Tommy and Fig. It was absolutely sick. Asai Papali Matto was ruled out again as well. He was sort of at least given a couple days' notice. So Asai Papali took his place, didn't play the full game, but was absolutely massive in the 69 minutes that he played, pumping out 62 in base, and also had some meat. So he turned up there. Gutho again just keeps on doing Gutho things, quality in a beaten side. He's been awesome the last 3 weeks, 87, 81, 74. Nathan Brown had a pretty good game, Bogues. So his minutes have been like 66 minutes, so that's the most he's played this season. Base wasn't awesome, but I think he had some attacking stats in there. So, yeah, they shut him down. Paulo, as you can see, was quiet. Moses, again, quiet. They didn't allow Fergo or Sivo to really get in the game and, deserved the win. Jack Bird looks really good. Lomax was good. That whole those Dragon backs just in general look pretty good. So credit to the Dragons.
Who they got this week? I know we're doing the teams later, but yeah,
the Dragons. They take on the Blues this
so
week,
they could. So. Yeah, you'd have to predict that they're going to keep that winning streak going.
I mean, you'd say they're going favourites in that game, but who knows at the moment? It's sort of a bit hard to pick it. So,
anyways, speaking of next week's games, let's move into them.
Sounds good, mate.
So, this should be a lopsided one. Should be. Red Hot Panthers versus the fucking wet fish fucking Broncos. Red Hot Panthers.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, Bogues, I think the last few weeks we've sort of been predicting some slaughters, and once again, this could be another one. Finally, Kevin Walters has wielded the axe. Tessie Noo's been dropped, which is a pretty big one. He's been looming as a really good cheapie. And
I was surprised by that, but it makes my trades fucking easier this week because he's made some good cash. So see you later, mate. Good luck with your future endeavours.
I mean, 50-point average. He's made 113k.
It's not a bad pickup if you had him.
Yeah, I mean, he's made some money. His break-even's still relatively low. I mean, I won't be trading him because I've got other things to sort out this week. So I don't know what's doing there, but he's been dropped along with Anthony Milford has finally been dropped. So I think this is the first time in all of this losing that he's been dropped as well. So back to reserves for him, but I really don't think it matters. It's all going to be on that Panthers side, mate. And yeah, if you've got them,
do you reckon
any of those,
do you reckon this
Panthers
is
players,
Kevy trying to G him up a bit?
Oh, I think it had to be done.
Even with Milf and how do you pronounce it, Nui, or they're gonna get absolutely fucked by the Panthers. So do you think Kevy thought this is a good week to give them a reminder that that they're replaceable?
Well, it's probably too late, and it's not really a game. Like, they're going to lose. They're going to get rolled by Penrith regardless. So, to pull Milford out of a game like this, it's not really going to show the difference that Milford makes anyway.
Yeah, but Milford, I don't know. You've got to pull his finger out. He's on a contract year.
Well, like there's no way he gets a renewed contract, surely.
Not at the price he wants. So
I think
future Man of Steel over in England, maybe.
Maybe it could be the only thing that's left for him. Because I can't imagine too many NRL clubs will be calling for his services apart from the Dogs or something. But even those guys are probably more happy with the halves they've got lined up. But yeah, look, Supercoach wise, Ricky's been dropped to the bench, so he's lost his start, and TPJ will start on the edge. So pretty keen to see how TPJ goes there with the start on the edge. I think he's just so devastating. He could be really awesome.
And I don't get it. And we went on about it all last year as well. You look at that Broncos forward pack on fucking paper. It's an excellent forward pack, but they're just shit. I don't know. Like, you're the expert. I just look at that, they're fucking shit.
Well, it's just the defence, Bogues, and it doesn't matter what your team sheet is at the end of the day. If they're not putting that effort in defence, that's ultimately what wins your games, and that's sort of where they're lacking. You can't really teach you can't teach the attitude. They just have to be willing to put in the hard work and show up for each other and willing to put in the hard yards. It's not going to be a quick fix, but at the moment it's still not there to have the points they've had put on them in the last few weeks, and they have looked ordinary again. They've just collapsed in those second halves. So
that being said,
I can't see how this is going to be any different this week.
That is two massive forward packs that are going to be clashing, so there could be some big hits in this one.
Yeah, look, Supercoach wide, load up on your Panthers players. If you've got Charlie Staines, look, this week, I would have thrown him in, and who knows, he might not score a try this week because they're playing a terrible team. But Jerome Luai is a massive buy option. Nathan Cleary, probably Brian Tu'u, a lot of people looking at those guys for the VC. I'll personally be hoping Capewell might be able to find some attacking stats this week as well. So yeah, anyone really from that Panthers side, Bogan's looking like some good options. Matty Burton in the centres again.
I don't know in the chat if Benny's around. Benny had a very Panthers heavy team at the start of the season. I don't know if he still does. But it could be a big week for Benny.
Yeah, and amazingly, you think as well, last week they beat the Raiders convincingly, and they had Dylan Edwards and Appy still out. So they're starting fullback and their main 9, and you wouldn't have noticed. So that'll be the same this week. It's not really a factor now. It just sort of goes to show how much of a well-oiled machine they are. But yeah, there could be some big points on offer in this one in particular for those Panthers outside backs. If you have a look at what happened on that right edge for Brisbane last week, and I know they made a few changes, but the changes they've made aren't going to be a quick fix, Gab. That's not necessarily going to fix those defensive issues. So just how well oiled they are out there, I think there could be some really big points out there.
Couple of interesting comments in the chat. First, we had Kane Anderson. Interesting to see how Kevin No Clue uses TPJ this week. There we go, Kane Anderson to be the inaugural coach for the Central Coast Bears when they come back in, And
I think it's a pretty accurate comment because who knows what he's doing with Pangai Jr. this year. His minutes were all over the shop. He's possibly one of their best players, like one of the most devastating ball runners, and his minutes have been 39, 52, 59, 30, 42. Like, get the bloke out on the park. What the hell are you doing? Like, not just from a Supercoach perspective, but just to get him in games.
And
I know he's got a bit of like ill discipline, but holy cow.
Shieldsy over there in the UK. With Penrith are quite cocky for a team that haven't won anything yet. And I think wherever he is at the moment, rocking a baby or rocking the twins, Shane Foote has just had a shiver go across his spine with a comment like that.
Shane's the epitome of Panthers cockiness. Holy.
It's a good time to be a Panthers fan.
It is. So I think last year I made a bet with Shane when Newcastle played Panthers and ended up a draw. And that was the last time Penrith didn't have not had a win in a regular season game. So fucking be steering clear this year of any bets like that.
What do you mean? You got to beat. You got to beat Taylor.
Oh fuck! I haven't even looked at that. Should be miles ahead of me now.
Well, I'll check that. When we get to the teams.
Obviously, without going into any detail of guys' prices or break evens in that Panther side, just get them in. Luai's probably the big one that probably the least amount of people have. That could be a good buy this week, and sort of ongoing Vogan. That draw for Panthers really opens up now. So they played Melbourne and Canberra within the space of about 3 weeks, but now they have a really nice draw pretty much up until that round 13 bye. And Luai's an interesting one. I think, based on how he's looked, you'd think he's probably a call into that Origin side. I know he was inside the extended squad last season, but there's a possibility if that he keeps this form up, he plays his way into a Sky Blue 6. I get the feeling that Fittler will lean towards Whiten for the 6 this year, but I don't know. You've still got Cody Walker there. You've also got centres in Lomax, Latrell. So whether he still finds a centre spot for someone like Whiten, I'm not entirely sure. But if this is a guy that's not going to play for the Blues, he'd be like a must-have in round 13 against the Tigers. So you're possibly getting him now for the cheapest he's going to be for a while, and he could have a massive average for the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks, just given who they're playing. So have a look at him. 29 break even, 600, just over 630k. Luai, good buy this week. That'll be Thursday night slaughter.
Yeah.
First game on the Friday.
Sorry, I went backwards.
Fucking elbows. It'll be my boys taking on Cronulla.
You don't want to go over South being triumphant again?
Yeah, no, that's all good.
Yep.
Where do I start with this one? Bradman Best returns. So that's a big win for us.
Where do the Knights move forward from here? Because it's a shocking start you've had.
Well, we've now lost 3 on the trot, so as a fan, it's just fucking absolutely disgusting. They put up what they put up last week. It was just fucking dismal. Like, it was almost reminding me what it was like to be a fan in 2015, 2016, when we went through that period there. But I don't know. I've always sort of had some issues with our sort of outside those edges, those centre wings, and Bradman Best obviously adds a lot with his return. Braden Musgrove, I think, will make his debut, Bogan. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. We just sort of lack strike. We lack like genuine strike out on our edges. I know you got Ponga there and you've got Barnett and Frizz, but you genuinely need strike outside backs, and Braden Best gives us that. So he adds a real factor and a real weapon out there for us. And obviously with Ponga, that really looking forward to see how those boys link up on the left there with their combination. And you'll have Barney out there as well. So yeah, Connor Watson's been our best, but really need to aim up again, and I expect they should after how dismal they were last week.
I'm gonna throw it out there with my superstitious layman rugby league expertise. I think he's a fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a coach leaves mid-season, that team fires up. I think the Sharks are going to go out there and play footy.
Well, prior to that, they looked good. Like I said, they were a better team against the Roosters for the best part of 60 minutes. So they just switched off for that last 20. It was a bit of class of Sam Walker, but it's definitely not something.
It's just one of those things that I don't know if it's unique to rugby league, but it's just something that I've noticed whenever a coach does fall on their sword is that the team steps up. Whether it's because they're playing with a bit of anger or they're playing for a new coach, like they've got more heart in it. I just think it's a interesting rugby league phenomenon, and I think it's not a good time for the Knights to be playing the Sharks.
It's not a good time for us to be playing.
It's not a good time for you to be playing. It's not a good time for you to be playing the fucking Valley Dragons under sixes. But
mate. Now look, so obviously Wade Graham misses this game, Josh Dugan as well. So Connor Tracy fills in for that vacant centre spot, and Nakora returns. But interestingly as well in that bench there, Big Talakai returns. So. I'm one of the biggest fans of this bloke, and what a week for him to return. I hope he isn't at his devastating best. Whether we see a late switch for him to come into that starting edge spot, if not, he's going to come on after 20 sort of minutes and just be an absolute wrecking ball. So that'll be interesting.
And Billy Magoulias, is now the time for Magoulias to break out?
Yes, Magoulias having some breakout. So. And honestly, he looks a really good footy player. He's just not getting his opportunity minutes-wise, but he'll be one for the future, Bo. And I think there's actually some other clubs sort of looking at him.
It's interesting because I've seen some New South Wales Cup footage of him, and he was a gun in New South Wales Cup. I know that's a second-tier competition, but it's interesting that it hasn't translated over to first grade yet.
Yeah, no, he's got that. He's sort of got that Wade Graham about him. He can ball play and he creates things. But yeah, look, classic-wise, what do you do? I mean, God, Kalen Ponga. I just think with so many other guys in form and the fact that
I still reckon wait a couple of weeks on Ponga.
But he just was missing. Like I can't remember seeing him chime in or looking for the ball or trying to create
still
something.
scored 60 though.
Well, he scored 66 with a try, and yeah, like I wasn't convinced. I just was looking, where is he? Like wanting him to sort of inject himself into the game. Maybe a bit harsh his first game back, but that's sort of what you expect from a kid on the money that he's on. I know he's still a kid, but
yeah,
he's had
you can only call him a.
Now, like,
I was going to say, you can only call him a kid for so long.
So yeah, look, I think there were people that still had Tej Wilton. I think with Talakai there now, Talakai is probably going to be that good that he's just going to demand the spot in that side, and I think they're just a much better side with someone like Talakai in there, and he can play big minutes, and even if he doesn't, he's just a weapon, and you can pick him in the centre wing. So all eyes now back on soy sauce Talakai for the next few weeks. He's pretty cheap too. He's only 485k Bogan. So they play the Dogs next week. They've got a couple of harder fixtures after that. And they don't play the round 13 bye. So it'll be interesting whether you can get on him. But if he ends up finding a starting edge spot for some reason, who knows what's going on with Wade Graham, get him straight in. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at trading Barnett Bogues as well, just because he's lost the goal kicking. And at the end of the day, he's still an 80-minute back rower, priced at 600k. He's got a pretty high break-even.
I think I'll be keeping a hold of him for a couple of weeks. There's other trades I need to make before he goes.
I think a lot of people are using him as a stepping stone to Fafita if you don't have Fafita, which is fair enough. But I'll sort of sit on Barney for a little while longer. Connor Watson keeps reducing. He drops back to that 13 now with Kurt Mann back. So I imagine he'll just switch to the bench late and go on to play sort of 50 to 60 minutes again, but he's still been pretty effective. He's sort of an interesting one, Bogues. He's sort of now peaking a little bit. Pretty much want to hold him for the round 13 bye, but he's just sort of at the point where he's like hit just under 500k. If he scores, he's got a 68 break even. If he scores a try or something this week and beats that, he might end up eclipsing 500k and might hit mid 500, and it'll be really tempting to sell him. But I think I'm just going to sit on him until round 13, because you have to now start thinking, if you're an overall player, which despite the shit as my start has, I'll always be an overall player.
And that'll be the chance for people that are lagging behind to catch some points up. So if you are behind in an overall player, you'd be definitely looking at the buys at the moment.
Yeah, and you've got to have some numbers in there, so sort of start to be thinking about that now. We'll hold Watson, but yeah, Davey Clemmer. Clemmer will be an interesting one. He didn't play Origin last year, Bogan, so don't know whether he cracks back into that side, but he's now 560, just over 560k with a big break even. I mean, there's a possibility if he somehow manages to go sub sort of 60 this week, he could be closer to 500k next week, and he would be looming as a buy. I guess the difficult thing with it is whether he's done enough to regain that sky blue jersey or not. Because if he's not, he's another guy for round 13 that could be pretty handy to have. I know he doesn't offer too much in the way of a ceiling, but he's usually pretty consistent with his 60. I guess the big thing that's sort of changed with him this season, even though his scoring's still been pretty good, is he doesn't seem to have that offload in him as much. So he's a little bit of a different prospect. But yeah, otherwise, if there's anyone looking around, best is a possibility. He's not cheap, 550k, but he's again just got genuine strike, and maybe the combination with KP out there, he might find a couple tries. And we've got Penrith and the Roosters after this week, so the draw doesn't. Or we go Penrith, Roosters, Raiders. So I mean that's as tough a next 3 games as you'll get out of any team in the comp. So if you pick up Brabham Best this week, just beware that we take on Penrith, the Chooks, and then the Raiders for the following week. So maybe he's one that you look at for around 13 and just see how he goes over the next few weeks, because he might be a little bit cheaper in a month, depending on how he goes.
What a cracker this will be.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be, again, probably looming as game of the round.
Oh, how can you not call it game of the round?
Yeah, the couple of heavyweights up against. I mean, that said, the Roosters are pretty depleted now. I think they're running pretty low on hooking options. Obviously, Jake Friend retired. Lassik's now out a bit more long-term. Bogan as well, who was sort of filling in there while they're waiting for Verrills to come back. Adam Kieran returns to their bench, but yeah, it'll be the battle of the ones, Tedesco and Pappenhausen. Yeah, I think on paper, it looms as an interesting one. Harry Grant's still on the bench as well, so it'll be interesting to see whether he continues to come off the bench or if there's a late switch there with Brandon Smith. But it's a tough one. I mean, it's hard to sort of pick up anyone in this game because...
Do you think there'll be any chance that Radley might move to hooker during this match?
Oh, there's probably a strong possibility, but I think with Kieran on the bench, maybe not actually. I think Kieran there is probably going to play that sort of role. I don't think
he does score pretty well when he's playing at hooker.
Well, he's just in the middle anyway, so he's getting all those base points with his tackles and probably misses out on a few of those hit-ups, but he just plays a bit of that link ball playing role anyway, so I mean, they possibly could. But yeah, the Chooks are in a bit of trouble in that hooking position, definitely. So, if Marsh doesn't work out for them.
Well, I'm actually surprised they haven't moved Radley into hooker, because, as I said, he does seem to enjoy playing that role better. Last year, in the few games that he did play hooker, he scored quite well. He was in my draft team last year, and he was playing hooker and scoring tons or close to tons up until he got injured. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him make that move at some point during the game if it's not working. But we'll see how things go.
Yeah, the depth's just really tested there. It's starting to become a bit of an issue for him.
Which is interesting. It hasn't really been a problem for the Roosters in the past.
No, so I mean, you look at those forward packs, and you definitely have to suggest that the Melbourne pack's a little bit better. And if they're clinical and punching away as they do through the middle, they'll lay that platform for the outside backs of the Storm. And I just think, Sam Walker's going to get a massive target on him in this one. There's going to be a lot of traffic heading his way. I think that's going to be... so that's Olam side, Kenny Bromwich.
That becomes an even bigger factor of the forward pack holding up.
Munster out there as well. I think the young kid's going to get a lot of attention. And whether it's just to tire him out or that they'll see some deficiencies in his defence, he's just going to get a lot of traffic. And as I said, Olam's a stronger ball runner as anyone in the comp, and he can run over anyone. But he's going to be in a bit of trouble this week, I think, young Sam Walker. So a good test there. I think the inexperience of the Chooks halves and a few deficiencies in their forward pack might hurt them. They'll rely on their bench, but you look at that Melbourne bench as well, and Harry Grant coming off the bench, Tui as well. Nico Hines will add something late in halves if they need it, and Eisenhuth's pretty solid. So should be a good game. Supercoach wise, I don't know. Can you touch anyone this week as a prospect? I don't think so. It's a little bit hard. Just you're sort of expecting guys like Gus to be solid again. Hopefully Pappy and Teddy are involved in getting those attacking stats. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Sam Walker goes because, hype him up as much as he is. He's not going to get the scores he's got in the last couple of weeks every week. And this could be one where he scores pretty minimal because he doesn't have much base in him. So I don't think you'd play Sam Walker this week. I'm sort of hoping someone like Satilli might be able to find some attacking stats because I'm probably going to have to be forced to play him this week. I'll have to hold on to him, but otherwise it's a bit hard. Keep an eye on Harry Grant as well, Bogan, just from a classic perspective. It's a bit hard again coming into Origin. Timing's not awesome. Expect he'll probably play Origin, but he's not overly expensive, and if he keeps coming off the bench, you can't find some attacking stats. You might see a little bit of a dip. And if you consider him a keeper in the hooker position, which I do, maybe that is something. There's a sort of time that you could trade Watson before the bye if you can get to someone like this. I don't know about Brayley. Brayley looks like he's possibly going to be looking like someone that could be a keeper, and you're playing 17 this year just based on the fact he's playing 80 minutes at the moment. But eyes on Harry Grant as well, just to see how that sort of plays out. First game on the Saturday, the Eagles take on the Titans. Big one here, Turbo's back, mate. Domi Trbojevic returns, the long-awaited for about 8 of my draft teams because I picked him up.
So he'll do a hammy in the 60th?
But, it'll be interesting to see how he returns. Obviously, he's not going to fix their defensive woes. And they were far better last week, but coming up against an informed Titans team as well. No major changes to that Titans side, I don't believe. Bogues got the same 17 that sort of pumped us, which was good. Sammy's got to pass some HIA protocols. Manly, Tommy's back. Dylan Walker will be out for a while with a hamstring injury, and Olokatu comes into the second row for Kacheski. And what else is going on
Caden
there?
Cust, why isn't he in the starting team? He seems to be a good, solid performer for the Sea Eagles.
I honestly think Lachlan Croke is pretty terrible. I don't know. It's obviously stuff we don't see behind the scenes that goes on at training and stuff like that. But he just looks 20,000 times.
Cade Cust must have made fun of Dez's hair or something. Because he should be in that starting team. Every time he plays well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all eyes again on the Titans. I think there's going to be a big job from who's going to be pairing up on Fafita. Fafita's on the left, so the right edge last week was Kacheski, and I'd imagine Olakatu will be on that right edge unless there's a switch there. So, I'm not massively aware of what Homolo, let's just call him the Ho, what he's like defensively. But there's going to be a big job out there for someone out on that right edge for the Manly side. So, whether he's a captaincy option or a VC option. I think given Panthers are playing on the Thursday against Broncos, there's a lot of your VCs there. And with Pappenhausen taking on Teddy, you're probably not likely to put the C on one of those guys. But Tyron Peachy is a possible buy as well, Bogan. We touched on him earlier. I think Tino should bounce back. Brian Kelly's a good option. I don't think Brimo's in the picture at the moment, but if you're looking for a pod or you sat true on him, he's still a good proposition this week. But really keen to see how Toby Turbo returns and, what he adds to, I think someone like Schuster looks really dangerous, but having Turbo floating around off him could be really a massive plus for Schuster. Even Jason Saab, as I said, maybe he becomes a little bit more relevant now. I have to have a look at him. But a little bit hard given they don't play the bye as well. But it'll be interesting to see. Again, Turbo is one of those guys who can come back and just score massive points. So we'll see what happens with Turbo. It's going to be a little bit hard with so many informed fullbacks.
I spoke his name and he turned up. Shane Foote in the chat has said, put the C on for feeder. You must have heard that fucking Panthers comment earlier. And
yeah, how are you, Shano? Good to see you, mate. Hope the bub's doing well. Congrats, shout out. Shano gave birth some beautiful baby twins not too long ago, so he's flying at the moment. But yeah, so look, it'd be interesting to see this one. Obviously, lots of eyes on Tommy Turbo, but it's going to be hard when you got guys like Latrell, or Teddy, Pappy, Latrell, Ponga's back, Brimo's there. There's so many options. Tuilašek's looking good. But there might be some crazy people out there that are thinking about bringing Tommy straight in just to be a bit of a point of difference. And, I mean, they played the Titans this week, Tigers next week, Penrith, then the Warriors, Broncos. So 4 of their next 5 games aren't terrible. You could do worse things. But I've got him in enough drafts that I'm happy to sort of sit on the fullbacks that I got for Classic. And if he burns me in draft, I'll just have to live with that. And if he does well, I'll be happy enough with that as well. Second game.
Oh, Rabbitohs versus Tigers.
Yeah, it could be another one that will be interesting with whether it's a cricket score or not and how the Tigers bounce back. But I think, again, you're looking at guys like Latrell and Cody returns this week. Yeah. Most importantly...
I will say Cam Murray to ton up because I'm going to drop him this week.
Yeah, it's the sort of game where he just sort of might get some sneaky attacking stats, but he probably hasn't shown enough anyway to warrant keeping him. It's games like this where I think, why did I trade Latrell last week and why I trade him Cook this week, but you can't have everyone. So, but yeah, Little was dropped, so Jake Simpkin will be interesting to see how he goes. He probably won't play huge minutes with him on that bench there. But yeah, there's I really didn't see that coming with Little. Obviously, if you've got him, he's probably looking like a trade now, but he would have made you some good coins, so I think you can trade him and be pretty happy with that.
Who would you be looking at if you traded in Little?
Well, I think you got someone like Connor Watson that you can shift around. Maybe you've got Connor Watson in your 5'8s. You can have a look at him to be able to bring in another 5'8. You're obviously going to need a little bit of cash to upgrade Little to someone like Luai or Cody Walker or whoever it'll be. I mean, you could transition as well to someone like Schuster, but you might have missed the boat a little bit on him. His break-even's sort of starting to rise a little bit, but it's a little bit hard to get on Harry Grant, Bogues, if you don't have Brayley. Have you missed the boat on Brayley at 526k with his break-even as well starting to sort of peak a bit? I'm not sure. There's no standout options at hooker, so maybe if you can look at getting one of those 5'8s in, like a Luai or a Cody Walker might be a better option on the short term. Maybe Cookie as well, but Cookie's just, I think you're just going to get those 40s with him because they have so many attacking options across the park. But again, I think with Kapoa in there and Roberts and Talao out on those edges, it could be South to run rampant in this one out on the edges. Alex Johnson, Gagai, whoever it is, just that 1 to 7 could have a lot of points in this one. Joe off and Gowie starts again, but most probably biggest out of this one is Stefano. Has found his way into a starting jersey, Bogue, so he's been really good for him, but he's got a massive PPM and that'll only be good for him to start the game. Maybe he might play similar minutes, but he's sort of built up to about 40 minutes, but he's looking awesome. And someone I regret not starting with, and I never have brought him in, so we'll play that first bye, but he's looking better and better each week as well, so owners will be really happy about that. And we'll be interested to see how this young Jake Simpkin goes as well, because you won't be able to jump on him first week probably, but he must be pretty decent if Little's sort of getting dropped out of the side for him straight away.
Get out to Canberra Stadium if you're in the ACT for this one. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it could be another good game. Looking forward to this one. The Raiders taking on the Eels. Yeah, looks like chances will Clockstad will be out long term. I think bulging disc or some issue in his back
bulging
there,
disc in his neck apparently.
Come into the one there, so that'll be interesting. Aikens, what he provides there, I think he's their only genuine fullback option at this stage that could fill in there. Maybe Adam Cook, who went okay, but they obviously opted with Caleb with a little bit more experience. Seb Chris is out for Curtis Scott. Yeah, Ryan James has been rested for this one as well. Tapane named at lock, and they welcome Gula into the side on the interchange bench
Played
as well.
pretty well last year in the few games he had for the Raiders.
Yeah, it was good. So I think, like you said, Ricky just managing that workload for a few of those bigger boys, and especially with James sort of returning to top flight footy. It's giving a week off. Interesting to see what happens. CHN's in that extended bench as well. Dynamis Louis in that extended bench as well. So don't know if CHN ends up finding his way into that starting side or in that 17, but he's starting to come back into the frame, which will be promising. They don't play the round 13 bye, but he's only 300k. So if he can start to find some minutes in that 17, he might be someone that people look to downgrade some guys, some other cows they're on that might be peaking a little bit more, even some guys at 400k or whatever it is, and a bit of a downgrade too. Panthers side of the park, mates, I don't believe there's any major changes. Most importantly, probably Dylan Brown has missed a week with a crusher. I think it was a week. And 5/8 will be Will Smith. Otherwise, Ryan Madison is expected to return, but has been named the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's pushed Papali onto the bench. So whether that happens again, we'll see what happens. But
the only way you can stop him is to take his head off.
Yeah. Papali'i is an interesting one. I mean, he's still been really effective in the minutes he gets on the park, but I was sort of off him because Madison was supposed to return, but he ended up returning. Has been absolutely massive the last 2 weeks. So thanks for that, Parramatta and Maddo. You could have just said you're going to be out for a couple of weeks. I probably would have been on him 2 weeks ago because he's made about 100,000 since then and pumped out a 90 and 100 plus. With a -4 break even at 530k dual, you could probably do worse and going to play the bye, but have he missed the boat on him? I'm not sure, because coming off the bench, he still might only score 50 to 60 points. Bogues, Paulo.
He had a couple of slow weeks. He'll bounce back. Yeah.
Quiet one, 55 minutes. Didn't do much, but I think I read there was some people saying he was used as a decoy a fair bit, and obviously that just showed they can't really afford to do that given what happened to him against St George. So hopefully Paulo is used a bit more to his extent. But yeah, should be another cracking game. Classic wise, I don't know if there's any standout options in those sides. Hudson Young has continued to be pretty solid, Bogues. But again, they're just sort of getting to the point now where you've got to start to think about buys, so you can't really be picking up too many more Raiders at this stage, I don't think, unless they're going to be really good cheapies. But any of those Parramatta players that won't play Origin, you could have a good look at because they will play that first bye. So yeah, Reid Marnie, guys, it should be a really entertaining game of footy, and Parramatta should back up after last week. They'll demand a bit more of them. So
Dragons versus Warriors.
And I think, is it daylight saving now? But we've got the 2 o'clock Sunday game, which is a far better time slot.
I believe so.
So we did have the 4 o'clock and the 6 o'clock for a while, which is pretty shit house. But so we're now back to a 2 o'clock Sunday fixture, which is great. Dragons taking on the Warriors. Could be a really entertaining game of footy based on how these guys have been going. And yeah, look, classic wise, looking at guys like Tohu, I don't know if there's too many legitimate options on the Dragons side of the field, as good as they are going. I mean, you've got Lomax, as always, who...
Ravalawa can always come out and score a double, but you can't bank on
it. And Lomax is another one. He's sort of 570k, 100 plus break even. Might peter out a bit. It depends on whether he'll play Origin or not. He's another guy that if he doesn't play Origin, he'll be a pretty big have for round 13 because they play the Broncos. But he's got a big break even, so maybe keep your eyes on Lomax just to see how he goes. But if he scores big this week, he might not drop too much in price. So he might be a legitimate option, but again, it just makes it a little bit hard with uncertainty around whether he's going to get a sky blue jersey, because I definitely don't think he'll be out of place. Another interesting one is Jack Bird, Bogues. He's looking really dangerous out on that edge for him. He's gone back-to-back 71s. He looks busy. I personally think he's got so much X factor about him. Both of those Dragons centres are really good now. I'm a big fan of Jack Bird. I think he could do worse. He's not going to play Origin. I think he's, could be a bit of a sneaky. He's sort of awkwardly priced at 430k. He doesn't have that duality, but I don't know. I'm just a big fan of Jack Bird. I really enjoy watching him play footy, but it might be a bit hard to pick him up in Classic just because of his price and some other guys that are more relevant and stuff like that. But maybe in drafts he could be a better pickup. Who else you got there? Yeah, look, we got the impending release of Josh Maguire to the Dragons as well, Bo. So I think Terrell Fuimaono's days are numbered. He's been starting in that lock position, and if he doesn't fall to the bench, maybe he falls completely out of the side. I'm not entirely sure. Probably just falls to the bench. He hasn't been terrible. I was sort of thinking, unfortunately, even though he's only scoring 40s, I might hold him, but with the trades I'm making this week, he'll make way for Fafita. So that'll be nice. A few changes on the Warriors side, Bogan, which is interesting. You've got Josh Curran starting on the edge. So he was a guy that some people thought he might have been a good cheapie to start the year with Katoa. So Katoa's dropped completely out of the side. So keep eyes on Josh Curran because, we were all hoping he might have got a start to the year, but he could be the one that now ends up being an okay downgrade option. We'll have to see what happens there with Katoa out of the side and what minutes he actually gets, because they've got a bit of a stacked bench there still. But Tohu's still a good option. Jazz was massive on the weekend. I don't know what his price is. Jazz is 480k, so Jazz is a little bit sneaky, but again, you're looking at the Warriors guys. They don't play round 13, so I'm sort of put off a little bit on that fact. But unless you're looking at someone like probably Tohu at this point, and even Sheck, which again, I don't know if you can put Sheck ahead of some guys like Pappy and Latrell and Teddy, but he'd definitely be a pod. But Harris just continues to be massively solid. What else is going on that bench for the Warriors? Kane Evans, Paul Turner, Murdoch, not too sure what to make of the bench and the makeup of the minutes and stuff like that. Bunty played some pretty big minutes on the weekend as well. 57 minutes, pumped out 55 points, and he's only 280k. So I don't know. I can't recall whether there was some injuries that saw him play some inflated minutes on the weekend, but we'll see what happens there. But Paul Turner's a great footy player, Bergs. I don't know how they're going to use him or what the go is there, but he's just an awesome footy player. You won't look at him for classic, but just in terms of watching a kid that's a good footy player, big fan of Paul Turner. Be keen to see him get a starting opportunity in a side somewhere that the Broncos released Reece Walsh early to the Warriors. So he's over there now. They were trying to link up a player swap with Paul Turner. It didn't eventuate, but keep eyes on Paul Turner. He's a good young talent coming through. Well, Maguire's on the extended bench, actually, I just noticed, for the Dragons as well. So I'd imagine he'll get elevated into their starting squad in place of Fuimaono, or just take someone's spot on the bench by game day.
So keep an eye out on the sheets for those before the match.
Yeah, for sure. Taylor, I'm just looking at the chat. Taylor's arrived, so hello Taylor. I don't know if you've
we'll look that up when we get to we're one game away, and then we'll go into the leagues. I know she was.
Look at all these blokes giving advice. You blokes make me sick. All the advice in the chat.
They're simping out for Taylor. You go.
Nah, they do it for everyone. Let's be fair. They
no. Well, if you're going to simp for Taylor, go to her YouTube channel. So.
She's bringing Fafita. Well, that's good. I'm glad you don't have Fafita. I might not actually be going too badly then. If
I'll look it up when we get to the leagues.
I thought everyone had Fafita. But yeah, and then to round out the round, I think this will be an absolute stinker. I don't know how they put this as the televised slot at 4 o'clock on a Sunday. Really, the Cowboys and Dogs may have been an entertaining game of footy. A bit of open footy and lots of points scored, and at least be entertaining in that regard. You got Lolo back. Should be back this week for the Cows. What's Lolo's break-even and price? I think he just sort of... He only played the one game, so he's got a big break-even. 640k. We haven't seen any footy from Lolo really this year, so we're going to see Lolo's return. Obviously won't play the round 13 bye, so again, it's a bit hard to pick up any of these Cowboys players, but maybe someone like Lolo you can make an exception for if he ends up turning a bit of a corner and pumping out some good points. The Dogs don't play the round 13 bye either. So again, in Classic, it's probably really hard to be picking up any of these guys. I know it's just 1 week to buy, but you've got to start thinking about those buys. And, these two teams aren't exactly conducive to consistent, high-scoring Supercoach players. But it could be a rare opportunity for a win for one of these sides. Averillo is bouncing back from a big score. So Averillo is an interesting one, Bergs. He's only 313k and he's got a -5 break even. And he's pickable in the 5'8" and centre wing position. So, I mean, their draw over the next month isn't too bad, and maybe he could be a guy that you could play in your centre wings, depending on their head-to-head matchup, and this would be a week you could play him. But again, not playing that round 13 bye, but it could be an opportune time to jump on Averillo if you're looking for some downgrade option to make some cash to upgrade elsewhere. What else you got there? Yeah, Condon will play his third game as well, Bogue, so he's cemented that starting spot. Bottom dollar, well, not exactly bottom dollar, but big negative break even, and he's going to make a bit of cash. It's just, I don't know what his security's like, and just as a player in general, he doesn't look like he's going to be huge with his Supercoach scores, but I don't know why he only played 49 minutes on the weekend, if someone is aware of that. Filling in. Otherwise, Val Holmes, we talked about last week. We talked about the Cowboys' run for the next few weeks, folks. So, Val Holmes, 510k, he's kicking goals. He's got that fullback spot now. Obviously, there's some issues there with their halves. Ben Hampton at the moment filling in there, but they're going to get the transfer of Adam Clune, I think, shortly. But even then, obviously, they've lost Morgan. Clifford, I think, might be on his way to us, potentially, as well, as a part of that player swap. So, Holmes might have found himself a home in that one jersey for the time being. In the last 3 weeks, he's gone 70, 70, 50. So Holmes is another possible pod option, and because you can pick him in the centre wings, that's nice. But at 510k, he's not cheap, so he's not like an easy buy. Maybe he's a little bit cheaper, but
So
yeah.
just on your peroxide journey,
Mm-hmm. Give me an update.
so Taylor is sitting on 5,743, and you're sitting on 6,016. So she's about 250 behind, but she is closing the gap. She did get you last week.
Holy dolly! I might just reevaluate my focus for this season and ensure I don't.
Sure, you don't have to do the
end up in
M&M.
the peroxide zone. Yeah, no, all right. Well, that's good to know. So I got the 300 buffer.
Oh, it's about 250.
Jesus. Well, yeah. Don't worry about Fafita, Taylor. They're all giving you a bump steer. He's no good.
You know what? For Feeder to get injured this week now.
Yeah, probably. So that's the wrap. That's this week. This week's fixtures, Bugs.
All right, on to the leagues. Goodbye to everyone that tunes out when we go to the leagues. Yeah, may the Supercoach gods be kind to you. But let's get into the group scores. So the Mick with Why Not was the top of the group last week. He scored a little over 1,400. That being said, he's sitting in 21,000th overall, so probably got a bit lucky there, Mick.
Yeah, no, fair call. Everyone else, though, pretty solid. Everyone else in the top 3K,
Whoa, the
really,
people's chin.
3.5K.
The people's chin, he's snuck in. He's sitting in 9th spot. He's single figures. He's our hope at the moment.
Yeah, there's some big scores. The guys like across the park, you had your feeders and Pappies and Latrells, so there were some good scores across the board. But yeah, those are some really nice scores. I was absolutely nowhere near that, so that's disappointing to see how well some people scored. But well done, everyone. 1,400 is massive, so well done, Miko, and good to see everyone else who's doing pretty well overall up there as well for this week.
So the group overall, obviously the people's chin. Daniel sitting in 9th overall. You then got Jimbo James. He's sitting on 6,648 spot, and Ping and Thors. Tristan sitting in 49th. Jed in the chat, Jed Rose, you're still within striking distance, mate. Like, couple big weeks and you'll be back up there. Currently sitting still in the top 100 there in 80th position. And Ryan with the Screaming Eagles rounds out the top 5. Sitting in 100th position even. So, got a few players that are up there.
No, looking good. Yeah, I think I saw Jetty in the chat earlier, so well done, Jetty. I think a bit of a bounce back for him there. But yeah, massive. The chin in the top 10 and everyone on there doing absolutely awesome. So keep up the good work, guys. Let's see if we can't have a few really solid top 100s and, even a couple in the top 10 finish the year.
So this is the BJ All-In. So Sambo with hard picks. He topped the BJ All-In for the week with 1,331. Followed by winner of this year's Name of the Year award, SpongeBob Cumpants. Scored just under 1,300. Frank with Hope in Cogra. He's been around a couple of years now, hasn't he? 1259. Extra Reckless Alex 1246, and rounding out the top 5 for the week, Red Nose Dearden with 1244.
Nice, yeah, and shout out to Damon. He just said in the chat he finally made the graphic. He's been looking to try and make that, so well done, bud. Shout out for making that. So good to see. But yeah, all you bastards scored a lot more than I did. Fuck is, and again, pretty solid overall for a few of those guys in there. So Well done, all you fuckers.
BJ Invitational. Mark with the fucking Cowboys. 13-19. Shano with Pappy in your mama. 12.87. So good week for Shano.
Is it Pappin in your mama? What is it? Pappin your mama.
Pappin your mama.
Alright.
That's a good name.
Alright.
Followed by Call Me Big Papi. So the Papi name's scoring well this week. 12.65. Followed by Bundy. 12.61. And then Big Ted rounding out the top 5 with 12.47. So I got to say, I just got to go back to the... Yeah, mate. Looks like there's a few players in the All-In that are outscoring the Invitational this year.
Yeah, a few more sort of consistent or better scores this week at least, but there's a few, or I wouldn't want my ranking to be up on that screen, but yeah, look, good to see some changes in there. A few guys, I didn't even really look too much, to be honest, at Classic because I was so sick about it. But yeah, it's all happening. Good to see some familiar names in there, but I suppose there will be familiar names in the Invitational, won't they? So, well done, guys. 1,300 solid, and anyone 1,200 was a good score. And now we know why Footy was asking everyone how they went this week, because Shane obviously had a good week. So, and you don't ask people how they're going when you have a bad week. We established. You never ask how's everyone going when you're having a shit week like I did, because, yeah, what's the fun in that?
On to the BJ Championship League, the draft.
Jesus, was it that big?
Yeah, you got absolutely fucking tonked by Adro.
Absolutely sausage. Well done, Ado, you bastard.
Mana went down to Tomo. Call me Big Papi again, the Papi teams. Benny went down by just... Geez, that probably went to reviews, that game. Went down to Wayno with Hell's Grannies, so 776 to 791. I got absolutely fucking pummeled by Trent, who scored 900 points. And Josh King got up over Dr. K. Ando.
Fuck, all of you were hoping you played me that week. I was the lowest scorer by far, but yes, wow, I'm on the decline.
Which takes us to the ladder for the BJ Championship League, and Josh King sitting up the top. Where is he? He's having a fucking shocker in Classic this year, and suddenly he's a fucking draft king.
Well, I mean, he can't face the music with Classic, but maybe the draft results are going to bring him back.
Because, that's the thing. He's fucking going terrible in Classic, but he might end up taking out the championship.
Yeah, look, it's a bit of form there from the King. This is unheard of in draft, so he's flying the BJ flag high. Hopefully, he might be able to
look at that points differential though. He's fucking 375.
Well, fuck, I wasn't going too bad 2 weeks ago, but look at mine. Mine's absolutely taking a massive hit. But it's still a log jam, isn't it? It's still early days, but
there's no teams that are without a win so far this year, so that's interesting to see as well.
Mm.
And that's it. Anything in the chat? I'll give him a bit to catch up.
I'm copping it. Yeah, Stewie, it was sick for Feeder. I was saying, I reckon if we go back to the pre-season team reveal that we did, I had Pappy and Fafita. I'm so sick about that. Oh, God. Yep. Kando whinging about his first 2 picks with Ponga and Appy. So should hopefully start to turn a corner now with Ponga back, and think Appy's not too far away. We're also going a bit of Marilyn Monroe.
What do we have to do to extend that bet to Brent getting out there with the dress on over the duct.
Oh, I'll do it if it happens. Just add it on. That's all good.
You're doing it just for free.
Oh, what's Taylor putting up? Come on.
Oh, okay. Well, Taylor, what are your stakes for Brent to get out there? We'll get him out at Civic at the end of the season, wearing the white dress with the blonde hair. We'll get the fucking leaf blower underneath it and blow it up and take some nice pics.
Fuck. Red high heels or something. Do they make high heels in a size 13?
These days, mate, I have no doubt they do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're probably right. Tradesboat, what are you doing? Better question, Damo. Good work.
Murray out. And Niu or Nu, or however you pronounce his name.
Tessie. I was calling Tessie.
So they're both out. And probably see if I can bring in Fafita. And I don't know who else I'll bring into the centres.
Fair call.
I got about 300k in the bank to go alongside those players as well. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to do some crazy shit, but my team's fucked, so it doesn't matter. I will be going Cookie to young Sam Walker through Jules. Whatever. I've just got to get David Feeder in, so that will give me enough cash to upgrade. It was going to be Satilli, but I've got some issues with a decent 17 this week, so I'm going to keep Satilli because I think he still offers something, even though he's got a massive break even, probably lose some cash. They're playing Melbourne this week. I'm going to upgrade Fui Maono to Fafita. And then after that, my 5/8s will be fucked, but I'll be pretty happy with my team across the board, and then I'll figure out how to fix that from there. But that'll be probably the last trades I make until I really start to focus on buy coverage. All trades sort of after that point will be thinking about having a decent team for that round 13 buy, which will come up pretty quick. Now, maybe look at saving some trades. Possibly there's no awesome options around as well, Bogues, because that's also going to be something you want to do at some point, because you can't just trade crazily every week, and obviously with the additional trades.
We spoke about this off air. Past 2 seasons, I've actually finished the year with trade still in my pocket, so I'm not really concerned about it this year. I know that as we get close to the end of, start to get into finals, I'll probably slow down on the trades unless there's injuries. So
Benny absolutely laying the boot in. Fucking my team is atrocious. Can't believe I lost to him. And he captain Laurie. Well, how you didn't loot for feeder is beyond me. And you only beat me by 60 points. So your team was actually not that much freaking worse than mine. But woulda, coulda, shoulda, but didn't. That's all I'm going to say. I could bitch and moan about heaps of things, but you could, Supercoach, people don't win Supercoach by what they woulda, coulda, or shoulda done. That's what they did, and there was a few things I didn't do. So, fuck you, Benny. I'm going to smash you in the draft and I can this freaking draft. Because that was one of the cashies as well, so I'm actually even more filthy about that. Believe it or not, there's another cashier I'm in I won this week. So there was someone that went worse than me that paid money playing it.
I am in one of your gentleman's agreements draft, and I'm actually going pretty well.
Oh, you're smashing that. I haven't had a win in that. I'm not even intrigued.
So,
but yeah, fuck you, Benny. What else we got? Lomax on the watch. Best plays the buys. Taylor, what trades are you making?
Well, I'm still waiting to hear a response from Taylor for what she's going to put up for you to wear the dress in Civic.
Yeah, look, as well, just back to we'll see what Taylor comes back there, but with obviously Ricky dropping to the bench, Bogan, and Tessie being dropped, I mean, Ricky's made some good cash as well, 100 plus K, break even of, where is he, break even, 49, so, if he only comes on and starts pumping out 30, he's going to start to hemorrhage some cash. I don't know, Carrigan will play Origin. Haas will probably play Origin. So I don't know if I'll be trading Ricky because he probably plays that round 13, maybe starts, possibly, depending on what the makeup of the team is if he hasn't been dropped completely. But even Tessie, I just can't. I know none of their outside backs will play Origin because they're all terrible, but I feel like Tessie can't be too far away. I'm not sure about the Tessie one, whether it's just he's really unhappy with the defence, but for now, I'm just going to sit on Tessie because I've got some other trades to make. Maybe next week.
Who are you putting C
on? It'll be for Feeder this week.
Yep.
C for Feeder, VC to O or Cleary personally.
Yeah, I've had it on Pappy. I've had it on Pappy or Teddy each week, and I just don't see it with them playing each other this week.
Yeah, but like we said, those Panthers boys, the South boys, I think Fafita will be a popular one this week.
Yeah, Taylor, DM me, because I'm going to start having a rotating guest host every week. We can't have Kane and Adro all the time, so DM me and we'll organise you to come on and be a guest host.
I'm just seeing that Toto is a must-have. Yes, Brady, get him in if you don't already have him. He's not cheap, but he's still not that expensive, really, considering the form.
And we're now starting to get to the point where if you picked right early, you should be making a bit of cash, so you should be able to trade up.
Well, and I assume he won't play Origin, so he will be like essential for that round 13. But I'd assume he's not eligible for the Blues. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, jump on Toto for sure.
Question.
Oh, shout out to the Turbos Hammies Cup as well, Bogan. I think I'm sitting last overall, so that's a shame. Pretty ashamed.
How's the doctor doing though? He's our representative as well.
Well, we'll take the doc, and we'll also take living to.
I believe Adro is representing another podcast in that league.
He gets around the podcast, so I don't know, but we'll take him for now while I'm performing poorly. Head-to-head I don't really care about, but we're playing for some cash in that one. I'm sitting 16th in that, but overall, Kando's in 6th in that one, and Tavita Loca's in 10th.
Oh, come on. Come on, Kano. You got to do it for us, mate.
And top of that one is Costa Brooks is here, which I think he's from Searching.
That is the best name for a Supercoach podcast. I think I said that last week, but I absolutely love that name.
Yeah, and then you got Savage. So he's ranked 245th overall. You got Savage Turbos, Brendan from Supercoach Experience in second at 350 overall. You've got Turbo, Ervo, Des. So I think Des, I don't know if he won it a couple of years ago or he came runner-up. I think he came runner-up 2 years ago, but he's part of the Supercoach playbook in third at 591 overall, and then sort of from there. But it's pretty solid. It's a league ranking of, geez, where's all that information? Is it 10 or 12 or something? Where's that going on? Anyway, solid. Jump onto the Turbo Handy's Facebook page if you're on Facebook and check that out, because Kando's putting up all the head-to-head results and how we're going overall, and hopefully I can improve this week. And when I'm feeling good about my team now, I've got Fafita in, so I expect I should be on the up.
Well, that's it, mate. Got anything to plug? We plugged the Turbo. Adro's got another podcast out, I think. Do you, Adro?
Taylor's getting Fafita. Don't get Fafita. He's not that good. I've talked him up. Don't worry about him. He's too expensive. 750. Come on, you can use that money better elsewhere. Don't let Benny and Kando and Ados try and tell you he's not that great. Don't even remind me, Ken. I reckon talking to you about Fafita is why I didn't end up going him as well. That makes me sick. Fucking Kendo.
Yeah, that's a good point, Benny. You make sure it's David Fafita, not Andrew Fafita.
Yes. No. Make sure it's the one that wears the Sharks.
Make sure it's the one. Make sure it's the one that's not putting fucking terrible shots on in fucking New South Wales Cup.
Oh well, I went. Oh, Daniel Fafita from the Roosters. Yeah. I went for David Fafita in like 3 of my 5 drafts, and I went him early in some. So I still like, I had a big raps on him, but looking back on it, I would have got him for 200k cheaper than I am now. But anyway,
that's what happens, mate.
The past.
That's what happens. It's you got to try and predict those emerging guns. He's definitely moved himself up to gun status so far this year.
You stay in your lane, Taylor. We'll see. Maybe you have to dye your hair. What colour hair has Taylor got?
I think it's brown at the moment.
Maybe she should have to go blonde.
Yeah, but no, that's. Jeez. We'll have to come up any ideas for Taylor's side of the bet. Obviously not for the blondness, because Brent's already agreed to that. But for the dress, what would Taylor have to do in exchange for that? Hit the streets of Queensland. I don't know. What do Queenslanders don't like? Oh, get fucking Taylor to don the blue.
Go down the Caxton in a Blues jersey and abuse some Queenslanders. I'm sure that'll go down well. Brown hair, all right. Maybe go blonde. We'll see. Anyway, I don't know. I was like set on the back row. The Fafita thing still makes me sick. I started with Maddo, Gus, and Barney, and there was a time where I was thinking I started at 4 premiums, but for whatever reason, I think I ended up starting with Paulo and Takiaho in the front row. So
as I said, mate, I got to get rid of Cam Murray before he leaks any more cash. So
I think that's a fair trade. Anyway, it looks like we're just dribbling on, Bogues. I reckon that'll do us. Shout out to everyone for joining us once again. Love is all.
Group code's been on the screen for almost the whole fucking show, but 692-946. If you haven't already joined the group, get in there and get on the graphics.
Oh, I like that from Shieldsy. Dye your hair purple or pink. She wouldn't be caught there in the Blues jersey. But, jump in. Thanks, everyone, once again, for joining us. These are awesome, and all the input in the chat, as always. And, I don't know, let's put the search party out for Josh.
Yeah.
Maybe we're getting back.
Maybe I shouldn't say it, but hashtag bully Josh. Get on the Facebook and give him some. Tell him to get back on here. But next week we'll try and tee up to have Taylor on the show, and as I said, we'll try and get a revolving door of guests on, people from the chat. Want to get Shano on when he's got the bubs to sleep or something like that at some stage. And obviously Big Ted, and we'll probably have to do a pre-recorded show if we can organise Big Ted.
Yeah, no, that's all sounding really good. So yeah, jump out, reach out to Joshy, myself, or Bogues if you're on Twitter, whatever it is.
Oh, and that being said, anyone who's listening from the Turbo's Hammies Cup, any other podcasters that want to cross promote and come on the show.
Yeah, happy for any of that. I sent you that thing. I actually put.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. Next week.
Oh, I like that from Mash. The blue jersey with the blue hair and Taylor's followed up with.
I think that would be
game 3 in a Blues jersey. I like that.
For you to put a dress on and head down to Civic. I think that's a fair trade. Are you going to show your legs for it, Brent?
No, I'm not natural, mate.
So it'll look like you're wearing a pair of fucking stockings, mate. So that's good.
Yeah, No, it sounds good. But thank you all. As always, may the trade gods be kind. All the best for your trades and captaincy options this week. And yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next week.
Cheers, everyone.